What's going on YouTube? This is Deke back with another Wonderkid video. Today we're going to talk about wingers. So mainly these guys play wing, but you'll also see guys that play other positions. But I have 11 for you that are Wonderkids that I think have high upside and you can take a look at in Sorare. Some are investments down the road. Some are players that I would buy right away or I have already bought. So a lot of these guys, I believe all of them I own, so not financial advice. This is kind of what I decided to do. So we'll go through all of them, 11 guys. We'll start with our first one here, MLS player Alan Velasco. So as you can see here, I bought here. We've kind of had a trend down. Last time out, he had a free kick goal. He takes the free kicks for FC Dallas. Slow start to the season, so if we take a look at his scores, you'll see that he kind of had a slow start, but he's hitting the greens occasionally. The big thing here was he didn't play 3, and then he's kind of ramping up. Came on as a sub against LAFC, but the scores are there. Before he was at Independiente, or Independent, I don't know how you say it, in Argentina, and he had some big scores, as you can see from the graph. So he is kind of getting acclimated into the MLS. I think this is a great time, especially he's coming off a goal. He's going to round into some form moving forward. I think he's going to be one of those guys. He's turning 20 on the 26th this month, so he's still 19. He's a guy that's really going to blossom in the next year or so. And I think although it's 105 euros, it's a little bit expensive. I think he's a guy that he can really pay off in his value. Maybe a year from now when he really gets acclimated to the MLS and starts putting up some really nice scores. So that's my number 1 guy. He's kind of a more expensive guy. I'll have some bonus guys that are cheaper, but he's kind of a guy that you're going to have to pay up for him a little bit because he is a forward. Next guy, we have Santiago Simone from River Plate. This is another guy that plays in Euro Americas. And he featured more last season, but hasn't really been consistent this year. So as you can see, he played pretty heavily in that range, had a nice game. He's kind of on his way back down. Today I did buy him. Let's see, I guess there is a floor less than that now listed. 2.4. So I did take that one up. I think that might have had more experience, slightly more. But if you take a look at his graph, so a lot of DNPs out here. Couple DMPs in here. If you take a look at here, he had a 100 point. They won 8-1. Everyone scored well there. But 90 minutes, 42.8, 46, 45. Solid. And then he had 45-minute, 38 points. River Plate has kind of been in a little bit of a rut. 2 wins, 3 losses with a heavy fixture load. They have to rotate a little bit. So if we take a look, he's pretty standard. He's played central mid. He's played kind of everywhere in those 40 spots. But he does have those games where he can kind of go off. You're going to need a decisive. But he is a guy that I think is going to only improve how he's playing. And I could see another spike coming in the near future as he gets kind of more involved in the team. So that's my second guy. A little bit more riskier on him. But he's a guy that I like and that I personally got. Next one. For my USA fans, Conrad De La Fuente. He came from Barca, transferred last year to Marseille. At the beginning of the year, he started for them and had a nice little stretch kind of to start the year. He is really going to make a push to be in the World Cup squad. I really think that at the beginning of the year. So he was starting. And then injuries kind of took over. He did end his season with a knee surgery for a cartilage issue. So that's something to watch. But I think he's going to be back. He's going to be training. He's ready to go for the start of the season. I think he's going to be really pushing. And I think they're going to push him into the lineup as one of kind of, top 5 value guy in terms of transfer value for Marseille. 12 starts, 12 subs. But again, I really think he's going to boost off that. At this entry, I really think that it's only up from there. If we take a look at the 3-month, let's go 6 months. He did spike when he was playing, and then injuries kind of derailed him. He's now ramping up a little bit more, But that's a guy that I like, especially with the U.S. call-up. He wants to get starts, especially for playing in the League One for Marseille, a solid team there. He's going to get his looks as long as he can stay healthy. A little bit risky in the health, but for 30 euros, you'll take that risk any day. Next up, we have another youngster, 18-year-old Eren Poku. So he plays for AZ. Upside play for sure. So he only has 6 subs, and he had that 61 score there. This is kind of a down the road kind of signing. I'm thinking of young guys who are pretty cheap, relatively cheap. He's a little bit more expensive than you'd like in a long term, 36 euros. But he's a guy that he played very well for the Netherlands under 19s at the Euros. He just signed an extension through 2026, so the club is invested in him. They want to keep him there. I really think he's going to get into the squad sooner than later. More as maybe sub at the beginning of the year, but maybe by the end of the year he'll be a starter. That's a long shot, but that's kind of my thinking. He can blossom into that. I love the platform. I'm longing the platform. I'm looking 2 to 3 years down the road with this kid. I think he's going to be another AZ stud from that amazing training program. Their youth academy is amazing. I really think he's going to break into the squad eventually. When he does break in, that value is going to pay off. Next one, we're going to Belgium and Anderlecht. So Mario Strojans, something like that. You see here, I basically bought the top. You don't want to always do that, but whenever I was kind of putting through who I would like, this is a guy that kind of jumped off the page for me. So he played in 8 games last year as a 17-year-old. As you can see here, he's turning 18 in September, end of September. He signed an extension a few days ago, so he's through 2024. Anderlecht has said that he's part of their future. I really think he's going to be another guy that can blossom maybe this year, maybe next year, but he's super young, so he does have time. He hasn't started, but he is one of the biggest prospects that they have here. You can see here that there was some subs. He hasn't come on too much, but I do think he's part of the future, and it's a guy that, again, it's a little bit more steep, $35 euros as far as your entry, but I really think the upside, he can be, I wouldn't be surprised if once he breaks into the lineup, he's a limited card that's like 0.1. You're going to make money. I just don't see it not happening whenever he starts getting in this. This is a low entry in my opinion. With a lot of these guys, I'm getting in early, I'm sitting on the card, putting them in training lineups to get that little bit of XP, and maybe in a few years it's going to pay off. That's kind of my game plan with some of these young guys. Here's my next one, Jordan Carrillo for Santos Laguna. So Liga Mexico just kicked off. His Santos Laguna team just played and beat Monterrey 4-3. He was subbed off at halftime, but he did make the start. If you take a look at the last tournament, he had some starts here, and down the stretch he was pretty much in the lineup every single time. After, red card there, kind of put him in the doghouse. But he played a decent amount. He's going to get you points. Even if he doesn't start, he's probably going to be a sub off the bench, which is what you want to see. You don't want to get a 0. Again, very cheap entry. I really like this as an entry. 9 euros for a guy that Liga Mexico isn't ideal as far as point scorers. They don't score as many goals as other leagues. They don't have as many covered players as other leagues. But this is a kid that, I really think he can have some upside. 60, 65 here, both off the bench he scored. So he does have that upside as far as getting goals. And if they start stretching him out, you don't love seeing just 45 minutes. But it kind of seems like they might start stretching him out because there's 58 minutes here, 45 minutes here. If he can get in that 60 range, if he can get up to that full 90, maybe by the end of the season, he's going to be a guy that in under 23s, might be a pretty good guy. Especially in Specialist. Right now he's sitting last 15 under that 40 threshold. You could pop him in Specialist as well, and he has that upside to really get you a nice score. It's kind of why I invested in him. The last thing that I have on him, the MLS All-Star Game is playing Liga Mexico's kind of a group of players. He's in the quote-unquote best rookie nominee, so he's actually going to be playing in that game. So maybe that might get him some more exposure in terms of like your casual MLS fans seeing, oh, who's this kid? He's one of the best rookie nominations, and maybe his value goes up there. But again, this is a kid that I like, and you know, it's €9. It's it's a very low entry. So I'm trying to come up with guys that are very low entry that have super upside, and you can make a nice ETH profit on long term. There's my cat. Owen Moff, it's the next one from Celtic. So he's 20 years old. He is another upside down the road play. So I don't expect him to make any appearance anytime soon. As you can see from his previous, he had one start back in December and one sub back to back, but that's about it. He'll probably play for the second squad, the B team, which is fine. He's going to progress. And again, this isn't a this year kind of thing. This is a down the road. He's €7. So I love Celtic this year. I wish I had more exposure to Celtic. This is a kind of a down the road play. If he can impress at Celtic B, which he played pretty well last year there, you know, maybe he catches a loan somewhere, either this year or next year, and that can get his value up as well. Again, super low entry. I will gladly stash these players for a year, maybe 2 years, and have no issues on that. All right, down to our last four. This is a guy that just got COVID, so he is on the COVID list, so he didn't play. This is Adson from Corinthians. So, 21-year-old, has made 17 starts over the last year. If you take a look at his graph, he's had some upside performances for sure. He has been a staple in the lineup. I've kind of played him every week. I played him, you know, they rotated here, came off the bench for 14 minutes, and then COVID protocols. So, have to check out to see if he'll be available for the next game week, but you know, I took a 0 in the one lineup with him, but I had like 3 zeros in it, so it was already a dead lineup. But it's a guy that, you know, 45 minutes, again, you'd like to see more, get more action from. But he has scored 3 goals in the last stretch. He does have that upside, and he's young. So that's a guy that this season he's had games of 68, 79, 85, 86, and 100 over the last year. So he has that upside that he can definitely pay off. Next guy is another MLS guy, Jacques Marshall Rudy for Toronto. So he's had some looks from other places. In the winter, he trained with Liverpool and Arsenal at one point. So he is on teams' radars. He just hasn't had a lot of game experience in the MLS. As far as he was out of the lineup, he was injured to start, but he has come off the bench the last 4. This is very pleasing to see. He's been a sub all 4, ramping up the minutes each time, so he probably was on a minute restriction. I really see him getting into that starting lineup here soon. So this is another guy, if we go back to his price, it's not the cheapest entry, but you can definitely see it kind of trending, in my opinion. It spiked here whenever he got that play. I really think this graph is going to go like this. And once he starts starting, maybe the next couple game weeks, he gets some starts in there, his graph is going to go back up to this 0.06-ish, in my opinion. Not financial advice. This is just kind of what I'm seeing, what I think. And again, if you can play him in that specialist under 40, it's another guy that, even if he comes off the bench the next time, that's a great look at what you're going to see there. His next game is San Jose. Chicago hasn't been good this year. Montreal's been a good story this year. Charlotte, okay. So he can definitely put up some points. Toronto has not been very good. You can see by that stretch. Hopefully he can boost them and be a good play. All right, down to the last 2. Roberto Massimo from Stuttgart in the Bundesliga. So he had injuries and illness last year, which kind of hindered him to only 11 starts and 8 subs. He had a solid season, but I think this year, as his age, he's turning 22 this year. This year, I think he can make some strides. The big thing is his price. He's €4. Okay, super low entry. If you want to get in, there's none listed for the rares. I was actually looking into some rares, none listed, just in case he pops off. Again, you can see the scores. He had a couple, nice games. That's obviously decisives. But as part of the Stuttgart team, I think he can be a part of it. He's made starts in the past. He's very goal dependent, decisive dependent, but a lot of forwards are, so that's not a big issue whatsoever. That's not a good matchup with Leipzig out the gate, but I'm interested to see what they do with him if he can kind of get into the squad and see what you can do. Again, very low entry, very high risk. I really think he'll improve these scores. I'm just trying to buy low on some guys and hopefully boost. And the last guy is from Inter Miami. So this is a kind of play based on, I was watching the game last time out. Who did I have in that game? I was watching Alan Velasco play. So his last time out, he's come off the bench pretty much every time. He's a sub, okay? The starter, Lassiter, left the game, and the fill-in was Emerson Rodriguez. He's 21, turning 22 in August, and he has some upside. €7 entry is a very low entry for a guy that could jump into the starting lineup pretty much right away. He was at Millonarios before, and he definitely had some assists, upside games in the past. I could see this happening for this squad for Inter Miami. Inter Miami, last year would be a big loss for them, but I think he can jump in the lineup, and he might be a plug and play if you need somebody that's maybe has some upside, but he's not going to kill you if he gets in that starting lineup and plays a lot. So he actually came off the bench and played 78 minutes here, only 32. So his scores aren't great, but I see them increasing, and at this part, let's take a look at his 6 months. You can see how it kind of went down. I wish I would have been all over here, but I wasn't looking at him there. I bought here. You can take a look there. I think we might, if he starts starting, another guy that could bump up. Okay, so that's 11 guys that I have that are on the wing. We're down to our last part of this series. We have strikers. I think I have maybe 5 strikers that either I'm interested in or I think are some good values now. Hopefully you guys are liking this series. If you are all the way to the end with this, please like, please subscribe. I'm hoping to keep doing like a 1 video a day kind of thing to really boost the channel and get as much content out to the people as I possibly can. I love Sorare. I love the platform. I haven't had this much fun in a really long time with any sort of game kind of thing, fantasy game. And I'm excited to share my knowledge, my lack of knowledge at times with others. There's some great people to watch on YouTube, and I highly suggest if you stumbled onto my page, find some other content creators, because there's so many good ones out there, especially people that are into K-League, that they are just super smart and they know all the ins and outs of different leagues. And also on Twitter, if you can find some people that do game news, it might save you some DNPs whenever you don't know, especially COVID. If I knew Adson had COVID, I wouldn't have played him. So there's some people that do some great content work. So again, thanks for sticking with me. A little bit longer video than usual. I'll catch you next time, and we're going to be talking about strikers. And I made a big purchase that I'll do a video on for my under 23 limiteds. So see you guys later.